It's Thursday, May 1st. Let's level up. Market had another update today, although it did wind up closing fairly weak. I think there was a little bit of nervousness going into the Apple and Amazon numbers, and of course some profit taking after an up week into a jobs report, knowing that the ADP number came in weak on Wednesday. As far as the jobs report Friday goes, you know what I like to do. You could use the opening 5 or 15 minute range, or in this instance, the spasm range that we're going to see at 8:30 a.m. Inside of it is neutral, above it is bullish, below it is bearish. If you want to carry forward to the following week, you could take the entire jobs day range, long above, short below, neutral inside. If you want to play intra-candle, you can use the intraday VWAP. Above it is bullish, below it is bearish. As far as VIX goes, it was telling to me that with an up market, we couldn't break below the 2376 to 2480 range. If we cannot sustain below there, we're going to see 2832 to 2957 again. If we do break below, we'll likely get the 4-2 gap fill to 2151. Bulls ran into some resistance today as we're getting closer to the 5700. Would not surprise me to see it get tested. If we can't hold above 56.82 half, and we're below it now even in the after hours, obviously we had weak Amazon and Apple numbers, although the futures have recovered, it tells me we're likely going to retest the 55 to 56.1075. If that fails, we'll see 55.5975 to 55.3375 again. As far as the Qs go, we ran into the 20,102.50 to 20,167.75 resistance. If that clears, we're likely going to retest the 20,536.75 reference high. If we can't hold the 19,845 quarter, we'll likely retest to the 19,623 to 19,554 quarter, and maybe even take a run at repairing some of these rich closes that we saw from Wednesday's session. In the Qs, that would be 19,431.75. In the ES, that would be 55.38 half. As far as the SPY goes, we basically got the 4-2 gap fill, just shy of it by a hair. We got the 61.8 of the range. Very simple. Bulls here need to hold the 50-day moving average at 558.47 and clear high of day over 564.50. Could see the 200 MA up at 3. There's some resistance at 575.35 and then the 100 MA at 578.42. Anything below that 50 MA, I think, retests the 549.68-ish area. As far as the Qs go, they also stalled at the 61.8, well above the 4-2 gap fill, which oddly enough lines up very close with the 50 MA, which would be a downside target here if we do have a pullback tomorrow, or 75.18. On the upside, there's resistance between 487.93 and 493.62, with the 200 MA right in there at 491.07. The next big resistance would be the 499.70 to 500 area, and that also ties in well with the 100 MA. As far as Apple goes, like I mentioned, there's going to be a buyback, and it's going to be pretty big. After hours dump lows got us to 203.84. Bulls really will need to get back up over 208.42 due to arrest the decline. If we do lose the 203.84, I do think there's a chance down to the 199s. I ultimately think a lot of these stocks are going to get bought on dips. Amazon in particular, really nice AI story there. Well off the lows in the after hours. It needs to get over 188.65 to 190, I think, to arrest the decline. Wouldn't surprise me to see this one get a rally into the July Prime Day like we had discussed. Today's move was pretty bullish, but the pullback is not so amazing. If we do keep dumping, we'll likely retest the 20 MA at 180.38. On the upside, I see resistance coming in closer to the 200-ish level. Microsoft pretty bullish, but it did close on the lows. If we were to keep rallying, meaning we took out the high of day at 436.99, the downtrend comes in closer to 444.71. 61.8 is at 441.91, so those two levels are good areas to pepper out some orders. If we do keep pulling back, I think they'll ultimately find support somewhere closer to 406.57. Meta, similar situation, big move up, but they did close it near the lows. Remember that if we traded below the 50 MA and then back up above it, it had been a long. Today we traded above the 50 MA and below it, so it's technically a short. Anything over 585.45, which is the 50 MA, would negate that. I think over high of day, if that were to occur over 592.95, we likely would see the 610.36 level, and then we'd see ultimately there's a lot of resistance up around 641, so if you're doing some kind of a call spread, that's a great upper strike. On the downside, if we stay below the 50 MA, we'll likely come down and fill in the gap to the 549 level. Tesla's had some rumors that they're looking to replace Elon Musk as CEO. I'd be shocked if that took place. Bulls do need to clear the 200 MA at 292.02. Anything, though, that pulls back and can hold 271s is fine, but below 271s, it's probably going lower. Gold saw a pretty big pullback today. I've told you I'd like rotating into Bitcoin rather than into gold. I told you anything below 316.65, which is the 2.618, likely eventually rotates down to the 2 times range at 281.68. So what now? If you're looking for a short, you need to see it sustain below the 20 MA at 297.89 and even take out today's hammer low at 295.32. On the upside, we'll probably see some resistance come in closer to the 300s. On the downside, obviously the 283.93.50 MA, and of course that 281.68 2 times range are my downside targets. With regard to the Bitcoin, nice press up. I told you I thought we were going to likely get up to the 100K. Don't let it get below 96,591 to 95,705 on you. On the upside, I see 97,765 to 100,000 and maybe 102,554, that whole fib to fib thing. Generally speaking, markets have been trading up during the week. I do think that there's the potential for some profit taking on Friday ahead of the weekend. Although being short is dangerous here, because if we do get some trade deals announced, that likely will propel the market still higher. I think that the bulls here need a decent jobs number, sort of Goldilocks. We want to get rid of that stagflation talk. The ADP number was really bad. I do expect that to have some revisions, but usually the non-farm payroll is the one that has the larger revisions. We need to see a number that doesn't show too much contraction there. If the jobs market is contracting and GDP is contracting, that will get people very nervous about the recession, even though the GDP number saw a large amount of the drag from a pull forward of ordering to avoid the tariffs. I think that we're going to have a nice little jobs day range tomorrow that we can trade off of. Remember, the initial spasm at 8:30 a.m. is going to be actionable. Inside it is neutral, above bullish, below bearish. Like and follow for more.